Welcome to Building Jam, episode 16. We've got Aidan and Max who just joined the Jam engineering team. The best engineering teams do the boring parts of engineering well, and so we're going to talk about docs, code comments, and all the boring parts of building software.
When I was originally pitched boring parts about engineering, I was thinking more of parts that don't get enough attention because they're not as sexy, they're not as well. When you go to a conference and present a new language or a new framework or something like that, that's what grabs a lot of people's attention, right? That's something you can implement in your own free time as a hobby project that you can put on your CV that you just can really get a lot of immediate results out of, and a lot of dopamine. And a lot of more like boring stuff, it doesn't give you immediate gratification or whatever. It delivers results in the long term. How do we enforce common understanding of what is good code and what is big bad code in a big organization, right? Um, what is the correct level of simplicity, between using the language just in the most naive way and reinventing your own language on top of what you're doing. I recently watched the interview of John Carmack, and he was asked about programming languages, and he said that for a few years he was really into Lisp, into Lispy way of doing things, but he wouldn't want to use Lisp or Racket or other Lisp adjacent languages in a corporate setting because you end up creating your own language on top of the basic language. That what I was talking about, when a new person joins the team, he doesn't have any knowledge about how to actually do stuff here. He doesn't get productive. And in a language like Go, for example, it's the other side of the spectrum where the language is really simplistic, like kind of in a good way because everybody understands it, everybody can read it, but you cannot really build your own complicated stuff on top of it. And what is the correct uh, point on this spectrum that your company and your business needs, and how to sync all the engineers around it? Because at Jam, we're about at the point and the inflection point where engineers, they split into different teams, and where the code is so big that I think no single person can be able to review the whole pull request, all the pull requests that happen, to review the style. And how do you still get everybody in the team on the same page about our approach? How do we write things? Because otherwise, what will happen is that this team will have will converge in this style, this team will converge in another style, right? And these will be two different kinds of TypeScript because TypeScript is a pretty agile language on itself. You can do a lot of different paradigms in it. For a time, personally, I was really into FPTS. Now they rebranded into something else, Effectful, but basically, it's a library that allows you to write basically Haskell on top of TypeScript. It has more in common with really hardcore functional languages than with original JavaScript. And yeah, this is often not even about the code, not even about the technical parts that engineers get so excited about, but about a community of engineers, about psychology of different people working on the product, about different egos, sometimes colliding, sometimes not. Like, for example, on the onboarding, I think on my second or third week, every time I would ask something in the dev channel, Preston not would not only answer, he would go to great lengths to investigate it. And at some point, I got a little bit awkward about asking something because this great human being would just go in and solve my whole problem. Well, I'm thankful, but I didn't want to waste so much of your time. I just wanted a small pointer, and but you ended up doing my whole ticket for me, which is great. But now I'm afraid of asking anything more in dev channel, not to waste 30 minutes of somebody else's time on the team. These kind of things, because team culture, right? When you join a team, you read some documents, read some maybe mission statements, some onboarding. It does not guarantee anything about how team actually operates, how people actually talk to one another. So
So
this kind of stuff,
can I,
engineering adjacent stuff, maybe.
Max, can I like jump back into one thing you were saying there? Just talking about like as we split into product domains, how people will have different styles. Like I front end is notorious for like I say this as someone who is a front end focused full stack engineer, and like I have very strong opinions about what clean front end code are to ask any of my former colleagues about this. And some better and some worse, or maybe not worse, just wonky. Um, but one thing I noted, and I made sure to ask Tony in our one-on-one yesterday, was like, where do I put the unimportant technical debt things into linear, just so that there's like a hub for conversation about them? Because to your point, right, like there is no way that one human, let alone engineer, is going to be able to like grok the entirety of the code base and to really like line by line understand and like be fully contextually aware of everything that's going on. And one of the first things to go in many teams is front end, because just nobody has strong opinions about how to build a like reusable and like effective front end repo. Some people really do, and they're excellent at it. um, I'd like to think I'm somewhere in between. And I opened a ticket earlier today with concrete examples from the ticket that I just shipped, where on the jam sidebar, when you see maybe Danny, you shared your screen.
Yeah,
Can I?
go for
Should
it. That would
I?
be
Okay,
awesome.
cool. So I will share my screen right now, and I'm going to point out four different things that are four differently styled components just for text size.
Oh no.
So yeah, so here, let me choose. Great. So what we see here is created. Whoops. Yeah, created 4 hours ago, and this August 7th. URL, timestamp, etc. Log your custom data here, and battery below 10%. Sneak preview.
Fire
Um,
feature. So dope.
Thank you. Um, all of these manually encode their font size and font styles. So up here in timestamp creation, we use a element from our design system called text, with the prop size equals body small. The table list items, individually, not at the table level, define their font size in CSS using emotion and styled components. They say font size and then insert a font sizes dot body small variable. Now, note that the timestamp in this table is a button. So the button, if you take like the button itself manually encodes with emotion and styled components font size body like body font sizes dot body small in the same way that the table list items do, but it has to redefine it here because the button actually for some reason does not inherit the like it's literally wrapped in a table list item. So like I would hope that it would just inherit the font size, but like it didn't. And then the last one that we see, this is a table list item, so that fair game. This one is not a table list item because it's not going through this structure of back and forth, left and right. And so this also, the one that I added, which I called a table suffix item, also has to manually define its font size because, again, there's no inheritance anywhere here. And like it takes time and real consideration and like thought to do this in a clean and repeatable way. I definitely don't think it's bad even that a team of 8 to 11 engineers are just like YOLOing CSS. Like that's totally reasonable so long as it's going through QA. But like yeah, this was one of those things that I caught and was like, yeah, we're not gonna prioritize any sort of work, and like certainly not here to propose a big bang rewrite. But I'm noting that this does not feel good as a front end focused full stacky engineer. And so I'd like to at least start a discussion about where we'd like to go and like what we'd like to see so that we can start implementing more sustainable patterns and as we touch more code and like get comfortable with these sustainable patterns, can start propagating them. But yeah, to your, again, jumping back to your point, Max, nobody's going to do a conference talk about like, yeah, how I spent 24 months slowly migrating our system piece by piece into like building buy-in for what the design system should be or how to do inheritance, and then like slowly but surely do. Nobody cares about this over 2 years. People care
But it
about the
really
big bang
matters.
rewrites, and that's not a. It does. It does.
Yeah,
It's like super important. No, like we can't freeze work because
yeah.
I have niggly issues about having to define font sizes dot body small in 4 places.
No,
So
but this
this,
front end.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I wanted to share the history of how we arrived here, but please.
No, the front end stuff, I know exactly how it happens, even though I didn't really touch
Yeah.
a lot of front end design stuff in Gem yet. In many companies, I had experience where originally you had some control into Atomic and it's great. And then a new feature comes along. And the design
Yeah.
is really similar to this. So you just copy, like you inherit it
Mhm.
and extend this base component. And then a third one, and a lot of
Yeah.
difference come crippling in. And at some point, you find yourself like all these 5 different instances, they use the same basic component, and this basic component already is not basic at all. It has so many different options that
Yeah.
are sometimes like tied together. Um, and it's a mess, it's spaghetti, exactly because you wanted to use inheritance, and in the beginning,
Yeah.
just from the product side, it was the logical thing to do, but now
Mhm.
it's spaghetti because you're trying to mash this all up in one thing. And I think my idea is here is that with the design systems, you're bound to have a mess earlier or later at some point if your designs are advancing. You just have to live with the mess. You just have to,
Yeah.
pick it up sometime. Like if something you'll know it's already kind of stable, and you from the product side, from the business side, you know that maybe you're not going to get a lot of redesigns here. Then it's a time to refactor it, but only
For
then.
sure. Yeah, it's definitely a spectrum. I all I'm saying is that I think we're on one end of the spectrum and should slowly but surely. I've heard on
Mm-hmm.
previous podcast episodes the like number of designers that we've had over the years and how each of them have brought their own unique distinct styles that we can still like kind of trace back to the different eras of designers. Totally makes sense. Not throwing shade at any of my colleagues past or present.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an acknowledgement that we are on one end of this spectrum and could slowly but surely start thinking about moving towards there, the other end, as we more formalize design and like bring on designer number two.
So
Danny,
what
sorry to
what you
interrupt.
do not know is that 14 months ago we had the same thought, and we're like, time to refactor this. And Maya became the engineer, fully focused 100% of her time on migrating everything over to one clean system. This was going great until Jam needed a first product manager.
Yep,
And I and
it
as she's
happens.
starting this migration, I asked her to be Jam's first product manager. So she never finished. But there was a time where good intentions, we really were going to clean that up.
Yeah, it happens. No shade. Um, Thank you, Maya, for starting to wrangle this. This is a really great signpost for me to know who to speak with as an ally and like who will have opinions for how to push this forward. So I'm really excited to like learn from what she has experienced, and also like bat around my own front end design system experience and like learn, share what I can and learn what she has to share as well. So,
The way this came to be in the first place is like exactly what you all described. So when we started the company, we were just pivoting around trying to figure out like how to solve this problem. And the product went through 8 different iterations that all look super different, but it's all the same code base. So we never like deleted and started from scratch. And so what and we were just focused on finding PMF and moving fast. And once we found like the product that like look how different these all look from each other, you know? And once we found the product that worked, we completely refactored the Chrome extensions so that it would be reliable. But the web UI never broke the way that the Chrome extension would at scale. And so there was never a moment where we're like, we should stop everything we're doing and clean this up. And so that's exactly what you're experiencing. It's like this is just the same as all of these have ever been. Aidan and Max, this was awesome. Thank you so much.